Planet Water Podcast.
Hello everybody!
Hey guys.
Welcome to Planet Water, episode 6 already, Chancer.
I know, it's crazy.
This is crazy. We are in a row here and I have to say, I'm very looking forward to this episode.
It's super exciting. This is going to be a good one.
I think so too. I think so too, guys, because the media went nuts in the last week about raw water.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking suddenly about raw water, and I don't know how many emails I received about this whole raw water movement, and we wanted really to talk about it. I'm very, very excited that we have the founders of Tourmaline Springs with us over FaceTime today.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting. This will be a great one. Did you watch the Golden Globes?
I didn't. I didn't catch it last night.
What, you didn't?
But I heard that your the movie about your life story won a Golden Globe.
What's my life story, Chance?
The Shape of Water.
The Shape of Water.
Yeah. It's all about you.
No, this is great. No, we watched. I have to say, it was the first time I'm watching a ceremony in Hollywood here on the TV with my wife. I never watched the Oscars. I never watched the Emmys. I never watched the Golden Globes. But yesterday we had off. We had a day off, and I thought, like, okay, outside the weather's not perfect, so let's watch the Golden Globes. So this was actually very nice, and I liked it. But I have to say, I don't want to sit in the audience because at one point it was getting boring, I think, when they're all talking just about thank you. At one point the music is playing then already, because that means get the fuck from the stage.
I heard Guillermo del Toro, the director of Shape of Water, wouldn't get off the stage.
No, correct. And he said, hey, it took me 25 years to get on the stage, to win the Golden Globes. Shut down the music now. It was pretty funny. That was a good one. That was a very, very good one. I really like this.
Yeah.
I really like this. And then there was a YouTube video. Yeah, let's see. Amy Poehler refuses Seth Meyers' punchline during mansplaining part. So let's listen into this, what Amy Poehler had to say, and then I want to showcase actually something what I realized right away. So Amy Poehler, let's see. No, that was the music playing. Obviously, I'm not a DJ here today. Let me first get off the music. Boom, right there. And now, hello Amy. You're with us here at Planet Water.
Do you want to do one?
Yeah, I'll do one, but I don't need your help.
Yeah, but no, I do the setup and then you do the punchline.
Oh, is that how it works? You're explaining something I already know. Is this the mansplaining part of the evening?
No. I just don't think it'll work without your setup to your punchline.
Oh, well, I'm glad to know what you think. First of all, thank you for telling me what you think. And secondly, I'm a woman in Hollywood, Seth. You know, we've all been through a lot. I don't need a setup to make a punchline work. Okay? You're sadly mistaken.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, another apology. How wonderful.
So you're gonna just do a punchline with no setup?
Everybody gets it. You already explained it. Stop explaining it. Said the peach in Call Me By Your Name. This scene is the pits.
So I thought, okay, is she on drugs or is she drinking so much wine already? And because she had a glass of wine in her hand the whole time. And then I realized, wait a minute, that is not wine. That is Fiji water.
Yeah, it looks very familiar.
That looks very familiar here. Cheers, guys. Huh? So I like you, Amy. Thank you so much for pushing the water envelope on the Golden Globes and drinking water on your live set. I love this. That was a good one. So she was not drunk. No, she had a lot of hydration. So from the last show, we had Chris Topperwien here, the Curry Wurst man, and somebody reached out to us with a very cool picture. And here we go. Here is the Curry Wurst, what he did. So Patrick Murray reached out to us. So thank you so much for sending off this picture. And he said to me, you guys made curry wurst sound so good that I had to make it myself. I went to Trader Joe's, got an authentic sausage, grilled it, chopped it, and I even made my own curry ketchup. Drink Fiji in the glass. Would love to see you pair water with good beer. That's a great topic.
That would be cool.
And I will definitely reach out to some beer companies because I think that would be very, very cool to talk about beer sampling and water sampling together. Mm-hmm. Because water is so important in the beer making process. Yes, Patrick. And you're absolutely right. And it's very interesting that you're talking about this. Because in Germany, when you're talking to beer production people, they will tell you, so why is your beer so excellent? They will all tell you, oh, we have a very unique spring.
Wow.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, Patrick, thank you so much for sending over this beautiful picture of your curry sausage, or Curry Wurst, what we Germans would say, and with a glass of Fiji right next to it. So, and again, guys, please send us pictures at planetwaterpodcast@gmail.com. We're always here for you, and we love to see pictures.
And topics as well.
Yeah. I think it's a great thing. Then from Melbourne, we received from Lorcan. Maybe you want to read it, Chance.
Huge shout out from Melbourne. That's how they pronounce it in Australia.
Here we go.
Keep doing what you're doing. I've listened to every one of your podcasts and have you on consistent repeat on your mom's house. You're a legend. Aqua life, more life. Please write back. You are a legend. Lorcan.
Lorcan, thank you so much. So you are now officially at the Planet Water podcast. And thank you so much for the shout out to Down Under. Mm-hmm. I love this. So you have summertime right now. We are here in wintertime. You have summertime, but let's face it, we're in Hollywood. We always have summertime here. But it's raining actually today. Then a video. I received a video. Very, very cool. Let's see, Amy. No, that's not you. Here we go. There's the video. Let's blow that up. Let's listen to this video. It says Martin Riese the 2 H2O champ because it doesn't have any sound. And then Icelandic glacial, great water from Iceland, with a little wine bottle and drinking Icelandic.
Very nice.
So very, very nice. So thank you so much for sending this over with a little wine and water pairing. I love this. That was a great episode with Stefan Euling. Mm-hmm. That was amazing about wine and water. That was very, very interesting as well. Let's see. And then here, and this is like what really triggers me to our episode today, and maybe you want to read it from John.
A whole lot of controversy going on when people found out about the episode, but also just going on in these guys in their business. So this is from John Sherpa. It says the articles going around are actually nonsense headlines, as a little digging finds that this company has some sort of patent on raw water, and it's the biggest brand, but they're out of Maine, literally as far from Silicon Valley as you can get, and the only place listed in the area that sells it is Rainbow in San Francisco. They also do test the water. It's a lot less hippie BS than the headline makes it sound. Also, Martin said he'd be doing more investigating and talk about it on his podcast. So until the water god discusses it, these are all mute points. And the article is referring to, so there's been some articles in the New York Times and other outlets talking about the raw water movement and how it's crazy trend out of Silicon Valley, and they're having people just go out into the wilderness and get water from their local streams, and how it's supposed to have all these crazy health benefits and stuff.
Yeah.
But raw water is actually, like he was saying, this company, Tourmaline Springs, they've patented the term raw water, and their raw water isn't just any old spring. It's actually a water source that's thoroughly tested and has been vetted by both of the regulatory bodies in Maine, as well as the FDA and who's the FDA? Was it also USDA? It might have been, but we'll clear it up when we talk with them. Yeah. So that's the main difference. So the raw water that these articles talk about is a movement where, at least how they're portraying it, is that people are just getting water from their local streams. But the raw water movement that Tourmaline Springs is a part of is getting untreated water from Mother Nature that's thoroughly tested to make sure that it's safe, and that's something that people need to understand clearly.
Correct. There's two big parts of raw water, and it's not just what the media is telling you right now, or raw water are some crazy hippies who are drinking maybe contaminated Mother Nature's water, and people are getting sick of that. That is completely BS in my opinion. So it needs to be very differentiated between what is actually raw water, but we will dive into this with the founders of Tourmaline Springs today, because we have them here on Planet Water, the H2Know podcast, and I'm so happy to have this. But here I wanted to share a case before we're starting to talk to the guys. the Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So they sent me over a letter, Tourmaline Springs, about their qualities. And it says clearly, we have reviewed the information you provided concerning your request to market a natural raw bottled water product produced at the Summit Spring bottling facility in Harrison, Maine. The source water would be gravity fed from the already approved spring water source without any treatment or filtration and bottled in clear 1-liter glass bottles with 28 millimeter PET bottle cap enclosure under the label raw water, raw living spring water. You also provided the following requirement informations, copy of the product labels, blah, 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 microbiology, chemical, physical, and radiological water quality analyst. And I think that's very important. So Tourmaline Springs is clearly, guys, is clearly an approved product, because then it says in that letter from the Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention, after careful consideration of the information provided, your request to sell raw water, this is what Tourmaline Springs is now, product in Maine is hereby approved. Should you have any questions, please call and give us so far. Then here's United States of America, United States Patent and Trademark Office of Raw Water for the Summit Spring Water. So this was filed or registered in December 11th, 2012. So they have a trademark of raw water. So everybody else who claims himself raw water is actually not doing the right thing. That we are clear on this as well, that Tourmaline Springs are the only people who actually are allowed to use the term raw water. And this is approved by the United States Patent and Trademark Office of the United States of America. And then there's another quality trademark license, permit number 452 from the state of Maine for the quality and product of the bottled water of Tourmaline Springs. So what the article were referring to, that this is untested and this is crazy, that people going with raw water, is first of all completely untrue. But we both want to obviously hear it from the people. So let's end with part 1 and let's start with part 2 right here after this small little cut break. Cheers, guys.
Let's do it.
Yeah, welcome to part 2 here at the Planet Water podcast with Jens and Martin. And we are very, very happy. And we feel honored that we have your booth now with us from Tourmaline Springs. Hello to Maine, huh?
All right. Hello to Los Angeles.
Thanks for being here. So please introduce both yourself that our listeners can know who's actually talking to us.
Well, my name is Seth Leaf Pruzansky, and I'm basically the founder of this brand, Tourmaline Spring, which is the rebranded version of the raw water that comes from Summit Spring. And Bryan is the founder. I'll let him introduce himself.
I'm Bryan Pullen. I'm the most recent steward of Summit Spring, a centuries-old source. I've owned the business since about 2004. Seth and I have been together working on these since 2009.
Super interesting. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we are very excited to have you. And I have to say, I received over, I don't know how many emails, but tons of emails in the last week, obviously. And I think you had the same little issue, suddenly, that so many people reached out. But I think it's great that we're talking about raw water today. And a lot of people, I think, are misinformed what is actually raw water. And when I saw all this media attention what raw water suddenly received, I was like shaking my head because I could not believe how crazy and some misinformation were on these articles.
Absolutely.
So, but the first question I would love to know from Seth and Bryan, why water? How did you started to get into this whole water business?
That's you. I'm going to let you start it, and then I'm going to fill in.
Well, that's a long story, but
we have time.
The
No
raw
worries.
water aspect of it was basically Seth's trying to bring me towards the natural food movement and the desire to have water as close to nature as possible, like organic foods or untreated foods, raw foods. That was what pushed me. We'd been bottled water since 2004 to 2005 years with treatment. And Seth's not prodding pushed me into doing this untreated like this as raw water. And that's what led me to petition the state, get permission, get authorization, and provide all of our testing and get our approval to do it in 2009. And we went on to get the nationwide trademark for raw water we hold as well.
That is super interesting, super interesting. I think that's already is the mind-blowing fact, because a lot of people thinking, oh, it's a made-up name. And nobody knows, raw water. No, this is just like the hipster right now in San Francisco calling themselves, we're drinking raw water. And I think that's already interesting that you actually have a patent, and we will show it later on the show, because we have the patent here in the studio, and it's fascinating for me that there's actually a patent about raw water.
Was there some pushback from the state when you were trying to push the idea of untreated water, or at least distributing untreated water?
Initially, it had never been done.
Huh.
So the state initially said, no way, forget about it. Nobody's ever done it. Nobody will do it. And we showed them that just because my dad walked to the bus 20 miles uphill both ways, we don't have to do it that way now. We changed the paradigm a bit. You know, we pushed the envelope and showed them why it was safe. And amazingly, they said yes. I was astounded. Actually, I didn't think they would ever allow us to, but they did. To their credit, the drinking water program and the Department of Agriculture are very smart people that take their job very seriously, and they would have never allow a product that was unsafe to be sold to the public. Yeah. So they know what the source is. They have 140-year history of zero complaints about the source in Maine's history. They know how incredible the source is due to our incredible testing that we've done for at least a decade, 50 state compliance through national testing labs. So they felt comfortable allowing us to do an untreated source water, you know, and my hat's off to them. I always work with the regulatory bodies. I never work against them. We do exactly as they say.
I think that is very, very important, because a lot of people, again, reached out to me and they all asked me, Martin, is it safe to drink and everything? And I dived into this whole thing, and I've been introduced to Tourmaline Springs, I think in March last year. We connected together for the first time, Seth and myself, and I was amazed about the taste, how smooth the taste is, how refreshing the water is. And I think it's very, very important for listeners, because again, this whole article is saying, okay, there's some crazy bunch of people walking down the woods and finding a spring and calling it raw water, and then they're drinking it, and we don't even know what's in there. And this is absolutely, completely, 100% against that, what I think you guys are doing, because you guys are very, very concerned about the quality of the water. And you know exactly what the water quality is. So please let me ask you this. How many times you're testing your water?
We test some every time we bottle. We test some monthly, some quarterly, and the annual extensive battery is done annually, and that's right in line with all the guidelines from the agencies that oversee us. Keep in mind, Maine is the only state in the nation where two separate agencies oversee bottled water, both the Maine Department of Agriculture and the Maine Drinking Water Program. Every other state in the nation has only one agency or none at all.
Very interesting. That's very interesting.
And just on a side note, our water test is 46 pages. Is that what it is?
Yeah, roughly. 46
pages long. When you look at a lot of the tests that people will post in regards to their water, it's usually not very many pages. Some just a page, trace minerals, whatever. Literally go through our water. It's we posted on our site. We test for everything.
It's a PDF file straight from the testing laboratory.
And where can people find this? What is the homepage?
So if you go to Tourmaline Spring, and then you, on our site, if you go to the mystery, there's a tab at the top, the mystery of the spring, scroll to the bottom of the page, and you will see the entire Summit Spring water test link at the bottom. And mind you, this is for raw water. Okay? This is water directly out of, this is what
source water.
Source water. Untreated, nothing done, right out of the source.
Incredible. Incredible.
Martin, one thing we need to do as a guideline for everybody that's watching. When we discuss these things, there is a monumental difference between surface waters and groundwater. Yes. We're talking about groundwater, deep aquifer groundwater. People are conflating streams and lakes and rivers with what we're doing here.
And I think, like what Martin was saying, the main point of differentiation that people need to look at when they're thinking about your version of raw water and the raw water movement that's going on in some groups is that your water is highly tested to make sure that it's safe, when there are some movements that are saying just go to your local stream, get water out of there, and it's going to have all these health benefits. It's extremely important that you make sure your water's tested to be safe, and
Correct.
yours is,
Yes.
which is a big point.
How deep is your spring, your aquifer?
We don't know. 1,000 feet,
Let me
probably.
do it. There's two prevailing theories with our spring. And we have spoken to a lot of people, a lot of hydrogeologists, water chemists, people who have studied springs around the world. And they've really tried to come up with a broad, comprehensive understanding of what could be happening because it's referred to as a rare geologic phenomenon. We don't call it that, they call it that. And the reason why, it's a high elevation spring. It's 35 million gallons a year. This tremendous amount of hydrostatic pressure pushing water that high above sea level. Water flows down, it doesn't usually come up. So what is causing that much water to come up has been confusing for a lot of the scientists who've studied this.
Makes
so
sense.
there's two prevailing theories. One is that it's hydrologic cycle water that has, it came from the hydrologic cycle, filtered down through all these different layers of earth until it eventually found itself in an aquifer under the ground, was there for a long time, against pressure came back up to the surface, which is like this dual filtration process. If that's the case, that's a process that is at least 10,000 years old. It tells. It could be way, way older. The other theory that they're not, but the thing is with that is they haven't been able to explain how that much hydrostatic pressure is pushing that much water that high above sea level. So the other theory, and we're not laying testament to any of them because we can't definitively say, but it's one of these two. The other is that it's what they call magmatic water or new water, water that is actually created by the earth and is literally emanating up from the core. And there's been a lot of science, real science, that is now demonstrating that these layers of earth called ringwoodite actually create hydrogen and oxygen come together, and it is creating water.
Oh, wow.
And it's pushing it up. So
That is
you
super
can look
interesting.
at these studies. They're there. So it's either one of those two or it's both of them. Some people said it's a mix of primary and juvenile water and hydrologic water, which probably could be that.
That is super intriguing. So what is your Seth, what is your story? How did you become interested in water?
So I've been in the natural foods industry. I've been just an overzealous entrepreneur since I was a kid, basically. I've always been trying to find ways to bring things to the world that I'm super passionate about. But that's the key right there. I've only been able to represent things that are in alignment with my integrity. And my integrity, my perspective of reality is this: the closer we as individuals eat and consume and exist and perceive things in alignment with nature, the more healthy we're going to be, the better type of experience we're going to have in this human body. So to me, it's like, common sense, really. 70% of our body by weight, molecular weight, is water. 80% of our blood, 80% of our brain, 90% of our blood, and 99% of our cells, in and around our cells, is water. So we are water-based beings. So when I look at the natural foods industry and organic and all these things, I'm like, wow, they're in the dark ages. They're not even paying attention to the fact that all this organic food is being grown with water is the water organic? Is it untreated? No, it's probably not. It's really, so I just was able to really be able to see from a young age that, wow, water is what it's all about. That's really where this is all headed. And when it flips, when people finally get how important water is, not just for consumption, but everything to do with water around the world, that's what it's going to be about. So that's right.
I strongly believe in this as well. And I think when you're listening to our podcast and when you're listening to all my interviews, what I did in the last 4 or 5 years, and in Germany even longer, because I started to work as a water sommelier since 2005. It's not an invention here in Los Angeles, but a lot of people always saying, oh, Martin, the water sommelier, he came up with that idea here in Los Angeles in 2012. No, actually, I did this way longer before that in Germany already. And I was the same, what you're saying, Seth. I always believed water has way more power than a lot of people thinking it has. And it makes so much sense because you just said it. 70% of our body is water. Let's face it, when we all know how important that is, and this is the great thing about America America now, I think finally people understanding that it's very, very important to eat the right food, to eat organic food. We all know that organic food is way healthier for your body than obviously a highly processed food. But by water, it's still like, oh, it's all the same, it's just H2O. And that is absolutely not true. And this is why I'm fighting every day for, no, water is not just water. What our hashtag is as well on this show, water is not just water. Water is way more. We obviously tasting here the different mineral compositions in water, but I strongly believe as well that water has way bigger impact on our bodies than a lot of people were thinking. And that's the reason we are hating purified water. Because this is for me nothing else than highly processed food. This is what I'm saying in my interviews all the time. When you want to drink, when you think the burger from the fast food chain is a very healthy supplement for your diet, maybe then purified water would be the right water. What I'm always saying, but it's literally for me. No, you should drink spring water. What comes from a natural occurring spring. That is very, very important for me. And there are so many amazing spring waters out there, and not just obviously in America. But we want to talk about a little bit more about Tourmaline Springs, and we will have a big surprise, I think, what the European waters actually are. Yeah. But so you told me a little bit the story. So how did you both connect it?
Well, so basically, I was really passionate about water. As you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in the natural foods industry. I have a sprouted nut company where I do organic nuts and seeds and things like that. But a close friend of mine and I would talk about water, spring water, living water, the benefits of it. You know, we are really, really passionate about it because we live in Maine, which Maine obviously has a reputation as being a big water producing state. And in the midst of all this, we get a call from Bryan, who's like, oh my God, you guys got to come out here and see this. We went out there and he shows us this source, and I literally, my jaw dropped. I couldn't even
blown away.
It's like seeing a wonder of the world, you know? It's that rare to see a prolific amount of water just bubbling that high above sea level. I mean, when you look in a spring, you see the sand and water just bubbling and oozing up through it, and it does something to you.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I've been to several springs in Europe, and it's always fascinating for me to see springs. I'm always like, wow, this is for me like, okay, here is life created. This is for me always, because we all know without water, nobody would be on this planet. And with water starts life. And for me, it's always fascinating when I see a natural occurring spring. I'm always like getting very excited. It's for me like a small little child in a candy store. This is for me the feeling I have when I see a beautiful spring. I totally understand you, Seth. So you saw the spring, and then you said like, wow, let's bottle this, or how did this work out?
Well, Bryan was already bottling it. He bought. I'm going to let him tell you about this source because it's so historic. It's so amazing, and there's such a backstory.
Yeah, we would love to hear it.
Yeah. Well, we were already bottling for 5 years when I met Seth, and like I said, he kind of led me into the natural foods, and we started. That's when we came up with the idea to do raw water. That's the term we came up with, to try to impart to people what this is, as opposed, similar to raw food, similar to organics. Over time, we got attacked for the name, for everything, for the bottle. It just kind of withered on the vine. We sold raw water nationwide on Amazon for years. And it just wasn't doing well. A lot of people thought that the raw terminology conjured up dirty things and septic water. So it just kind of I lost a desire to do the raw water. And Seth wanted to rebrand it in a way that might connect with people better. So that's how Seth and I, over time, we talked. And just about a year and a half ago, I said, okay, you run with it. Just do whatever you want, and that's how Tourmaline Spring was born.
For me, it's interesting that you're saying, and I love that you just said this about this disconnect about raw water, that a lot of people thought, raw equals dirt for them. And this is what I'm always saying about purified water, because there's the word pure in it. Yeah. And I think it's extremely misleading, because in my belief, water should not be pure. Because when you have just H2O, it's, in my belief, dead water. There's nothing in there anymore. And this means like it's filtered everything, stripped everything away. And we talked about this in the last episode about when you go into a flower shop and you're getting your flowers cut and everything, your beautiful rose flowers, and you want to surprise your girl with this in the evening, or your life partner, or whoever. And then the flower shop always gives you a little package of like, and they're saying like, oh, this is the food for the flowers. You just put this into the water. This is nothing else than actually a mineral mix. Mm-hmm. And this is so interesting for me that we humans thinking, oh, water should be pure, therefore everything needs to be out of there, and it's just H2O. Yeah. Just H2O is actually not healthy to drink, in my belief. So we should always have the minerals dissolved in a water, and this should be coming from Mother Nature and not from a purified water company. But this
just
is
like you go buy a fish and watch the warnings. They tell you, don't put this in tap water. Whatever you do, let the tap water off gas for a while, or you'll kill the fish. I mean, it's similar with the plants, the roses.
Yeah. It's mind blowing for me that a lot of people still believe no, purified water makes so much sense, and they have a huge market share, obviously, in America. I was recently in Europe in September, and you couldn't find any purified water companies.
Yeah,
there's not even one.
Even on the basis of mineral content, the World Health Organization recommends people don't consume demineralized water because it can actually pull minerals out of your body as well. So it's crazy.
And I understand.
Compound, actually.
Yeah, and I completely understand that companies, like huge companies, want to make money. For them, it's just about the shareholders, and they want to make money. And so it's very simple for them to just open the tap, filter everything out of there, and then adding back some very small amounts of minerals and adding on the bottles, obviously, with electrolytes added, and everybody gets very excited, but they don't even tell you how many electrolytes. And when I'm telling them that actually LA tap water has 10 times more electrolyte than a smart water has, they're always like, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, because let's face it, smart water is nothing else that's demineralized and cooked up tap. This is all what smart water is. And
we call it dumb water.
Yeah, good. I call it the same. Dumb water, I love this idea. And there was one episode with me for Mel's magazine, and they put me as a Simpsons character onto The Simpsons, and behind me you will see a truck with fart water, but it looks like smart water. So the S is gone, and there's a big F, and it's fart water. I love that idea.
I saw that, actually.
This is a good one. So you're both connected, and when was this? At what time?
Right, 2009, I think is right. That's when we launched our water. Yeah.
Okay.
We launched
summer of 2009, roughly.
And did you both thought like right away, okay, this is very, very interesting, let's do it? Or did you be like, I don't know if we really can meet up? Or was it just about the perfect quality of water and we thought, no, we have to do something with this?
I think we overestimated how well it would do. We thought it would really take off.
Yeah,
it was a phenomenal product with a catchy name.
Yeah,
we thought it would really great success.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how many people think that things from the ground are dirty.
Yeah.
When in fact,
this
things
is
from underground
I know.
This is exceedingly pure.
This is completely crazy. I think so too. And again, I was recently in Europe, and it was so interesting for me to see that we strongly believe in spring waters. In Europe, we don't drink purified water at all. There's one purified water brand from Coca-Cola. It's called Bon Aqua, and they've been sold on the fountains in like McDonald's and like fast food chains, but you won't see them in really grocery stores. I went to a grocery store with my wife, and we saw 25 different spring waters, but we didn't find even one purified water in the market. And
don't some of the European laws prevent purification?
Correct. And that is very, very interesting,
Extremely
I think.
Interesting.
And that is, I think, the mind-blowing factor what I had to listen into it. And we reached out to Jan Bender from Iskilde. And Iskilde, I think you have seen maybe many, many times on my show, Iskilde. I'm a big fan of Iskilde. And he wrote something very interesting back. And we want to share this with you guys right now.
So he sent us a message, and it says, in the EU, the general idea is that the microbiology, which is killed off by blue light and microfilters, is an important part of the water, which is why you aren't allowed to sterilize or pasteurize it. Microbiology certainly affects taste. If the taste of our water, meaning Iskilde, sometimes reminds people of the fresh scent of walking the woods after a rain shower, then this hint can be attributed to the microscopic organic residue found in the water. The organic content in the water is measured as the permanganate number and can be found on the detailed specs, typically listed as non-volatile organic particles, or NO or NVOC. Iskilde contains 0.4 milligrams of NVOC per liter. It's important to stress that NVOC is completely harmless, possibly even benevolent, and forms an important part of the water's character.
So I think that was very interesting for me to see. So raw water is not something, and this is like, I think it's very, very important that we are all clear about this, guys. Raw water is actually an extremely positive thing. Mm-hmm. And I strongly believe in raw water, the real raw water, like Tourmaline Springs. And we have other bottled water companies here on the table, and we looked in the European law a little bit longer, and it's clearly stated that you're not allowed, when it's called natural occurring mineral water, when it says that on the bottle, you're not allowed to do anything to this water.
Yeah, not allowed to treat it whatsoever.
You do not treat these waters.
Do you know that California, for example, gives exemptions to European mineral waters that are not treated, and they allow them in California, but they will not allow American waters that are untreated?
This is completely nuts.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's crazy. It's completely nuts. And so we looked at the number one German bottled water, or sparkling bottled water, and this is Gerolsteiner. Gerolsteiner you can find at Trader Joe's. This is the number one consumed sparkling water in Germany. This is a natural occurring mineral water. That means they are not allowed to do anything to the spring. Then we went to the homepage even of Gerolsteiner, through the German homepage, to want to check out what is the deal. If they're doing anything UV light, if they're only doing any filtration, they don't do anything to this water. Except, and this is the only exception by European law, what you're allowed to do, you can filter off iron, you can filter off sulfate, and you can add or extract carbonation. That's the only thing they're allowed to do. But they don't.
When you filter, it's hard to target certain things. Mm-hmm. The minerals go first because they're the biggest. Even if you don't want to take out the minerals, you will.
No.
To target specific things and not others is very difficult.
So we looked at Gerolsteiner, and Gerolsteiner has a TDS, so total soft solids content of 2,500. So this is a very, very high mineral content water, extremely high mineral content water. A lot of sodium, a lot of magnesium and calcium are in there.
It's naturally carbonated.
It's natural carbonated. It's a natural carbonated water, so they don't treat it. This is kind of raw water of Germany. So, and I think this is very interesting to see this. So listen,
Are all the people getting sick and dying in Germany?
No, not at all. And this is what Jan Bender said too.
We have to warn everybody, don't we?
And this is a crazy thing. So by regulations in Germany even, and that is now the second mind-blowing factor, when you treat your water with UV light, you have to put this on the bottle. So it's exactly the opposite what the law in America is. So in Germany, or European law, because when the German law is impacted, that means it's all about Europe. That means the whole European Union law is the same stated than the German law. So when you're treating your water, then it needs to be clarified on the bottle that you actually did something to this water, and it needs to clarify it with UV light.
They do that here.
So it's so funny that here in America, people are saying, no, you can do whatever you want to your water, and you don't need to label anything. But when it comes from Mother Nature, a safe product from Mother Nature, what we have over 500 different mineral water springs in Germany, and natural occurring mineral water spring. That means we have over 500 raw water springs in Germany, and we are known for the technology, obviously, in Germany. I never been sick in Germany. Another one, Amundum from Bavaria, it says clearly even on the bottle, non-filtered, non-purified.
Yeah, it's incredible. In the U.S., it's the complete opposite dynamic. The more
so
treatment
funny.
and the more filtration, the better in the U.S.
And in the European Union is exactly the opposite.
One of the only subtle ways that you can tell our product, but most people won't catch it, the absence of a nutrition label. We are exempt. There's a very narrow exemption for natural spring water that's untouched. We are not required to place a nutrition label on the bottle.
That is so interesting.
Wow. That's very interesting.
It's funny because some of these treated waters have nutrition labels on them. Mm-hmm. these purified waters that you're talking about,
Sure.
there's a reason for that. It's not a naturally occurring water.
Correct.
It doesn't fit into that exemption.
Yeah. And this is an interesting part about the European law too. In Europe, you have the nutrition label doesn't exist in Europe for water, but you have to label what's actually in the water. That means you have to label the TDS factor and then the main compositions of minerals. What I think what makes way more sense in America too, because then people can understand what is actually in water. Because let's face it, the nutrition label doesn't mean shit when it's all zero. It's zero fat, zero sugar. Okay, there are some waters even with calories, like vitamin water. I don't even know why they're allowed to call themselves water, because this is nothing else than a soda pop. Let's face it, it's a soda. Yeah. Then when vitamin water is a water, then Coca-Cola is a water too, in my belief. Because it's 120 calories. Since when has water calories, guys?
Yeah.
So be careful, and I think it's very important, and hopefully we will get a movement starting that we can at one point change our law, because I strongly believe this law about nutrition labels and what's actually needs to be on the bottle is completely outdated. And it's not consumer friendly. And we need to make sure that the consumers understand that water is not just water and that water is way more than just H2O. There's other stuff in there, sometimes not even stuff what you maybe want to have in. And this is like a topic what would interest me, because obviously you were mentioned now, Tourmaline Springs were mentioned with live water. And this was the other company who sits, I think, in San Francisco, what is a startup.
Yeah.
So what do you think about these guys?
Well, see, in defense of, they're not the only ones. There's lots of people. The idea is this: there's this spring water movement, this living water movement that is sprouting up all over the country.
Great.
And really, the principles upon which it's founded are very real. It's a very earnest attempt for individuals to reconnect to the waters of nature, like they've been doing in Europe forever.
For thousands of years, yeah.
Yeah, so in that regard, it's great and it makes sense. However, there isn't enough education as to what is a safe source to drink out of and not.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not only that, Kate, there's a very big difference between shallow springs and deep aquifer springs that many people don't differentiate from. There's plenty of springs in Maine. We have springs all over, but most of them are these little shallow side of the road springs where like somebody puts a pipe into, it bubbles up and they put a pipe into it and just this little tiny bit of water comes out through it. Most of the time, this is runoff water. This is water that it could be a natural spring, but it's the result of water table water. It's in the ground. It's not in a bedrock aquifer deep under the ground. Therefore, it still has the potential to be good water, but without comprehensive water analysis testing, you're opening yourself up to potential harm, and something could test clean one week, and then somebody dumps a bunch of chemicals or a bunch of something, whatever, a week later, and it totally changes.
Oh, sure. It needs to be protected. The spring needs to be protected from the outside. It's so clear.
So there's complexities. Yeah. There's complexities to that. There's a lot of, you got to pay attention, and a lot of people don't. They just so direly want to connect to nature that it's, you have to be mindful.
Yeah. But the only problem what I saw on Live Water on their homepage, and this is I think the misleading part. I understand their idea of water should come from nature, because we both believe in this as well over here at Planet Water. We strongly believe in this. Water should be a product of nature and not from a factory. What I'm always saying too. It's water needs to be coming from a natural occurring spring. The thing, what I think is misleading a little bit on their homepage, is when you see a guy taking from a spring the water and drinking it right away, from literally an open source.
Yeah.
And I think this is where the controversy starts, because people don't understand suddenly, but he's drinking it just from that open sourced water stream, and he feels extremely refreshed. And I think that is the problem why the media was really not understanding anything about it. But I have to say, I feel very bad for the media that they did such a bad job to really dive into this and to really think about it. Look, what is actually behind this? Yeah. For me, it's more like a clickbait, what they created. because they needed something right to start the new year, 2018. And obviously, water is always a main topic because everybody drinks it. There's no person on this planet allergic to water because he wouldn't be with us anymore at that moment. And I have that feeling somehow that this is a problem.
It doesn't help when they say the water expires in one lunar cycle either.
Oh, I'm so with you. Just 4 weeks, huh?
Oh,
but I have to say, even on that, I
that
even
must mean
understand.
all the water underground's already all spoiled.
Correct.
One lunar cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, the people who then said like, "Oh, it's so bad that you're drinking Mother's Nature water." So what are actually wildlife doing? Mm-hmm. It's like, how are they getting their waters from, huh? And they're not dying every day. So it's so interesting for me that we are so disconnected. And I love that you said this, that we are nature somehow. And it started even, and it's when I came to America for 6 years ago, and I went just to the grocery store and I saw everybody, and even now in the restaurants, with their small little liquid bottles, and they're disinfecting their hands all the time. Every 2 minutes, they're using these. I have to say, I never used them before my whole life. Huh? I'm washing my hands sometimes, what is required by law and what is, I think, very important when I'm going to the restroom. Obviously, after that, I'm washing my hands. This is what my parents told me and teach me, and I understand this. But I don't need to disinfect myself every 2 seconds. And then we're suddenly wondering, because we see it in the restaurant business, there's more and more allergies suddenly. They're like crazy a lot of allergies. And I have a feeling, because we are in this bubble and we're trying to completely disconnect with Mother Nature. And when suddenly there is something from Mother Nature, we cannot even react to it anymore because we didn't learn to react and our body was not set up anymore for this. As a child, my mother was really almost like she put me into the dirt to make sure I will eat the dirt, that my body can start to build up stuff for it.
Yeah, resistance
to it. So it's very interesting. We still have, it's called almost like sick parties. So when one of the children gets sick with like a childish sickness, and okay, after that you're fine with this, they bring all the other children into this house that everybody gets sick. And then they're done with this, huh? And then you don't need to, over. And it's done, and you're fine with this whole thing, and it's very interesting. It's so interesting that America and Europe is still so different when it comes to the culture of it. It's very interesting.
I'll say this. We, especially in America and in these Western cultures, we've been fed this idea of sterilization to the degree that we've taken it to levels. Obviously sterilization is necessary in certain elements.
Oh, I believe in this.
They've taken it and applied it to everything. And here's the thing. The reality is this: humans have been drinking untreated water out of the ground for most of our evolutionary history on this planet. And right now, people drink out of wells all the time, untreated wells. So yes, of course, people have gotten cholera. Of course, all the different bacteria that can kill people. Yes, obviously, these things happen, but it's a minority event compared to how many people have been drinking water directly out of the ground, untreated, for our whole history. So,
but you said one more thing, Chance, on this homepage, that they've almost said they should go.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. So they also have a link to a website called Find a Stream, and people actually went to it. So people can post streams on that website, and if you post a stream, then that indicates that that's a stream you can go to fill up your water jug and drink live water. But there's no vetting process. There's no process of finding out whether it's safe or not. You can literally submit any stream you want. You could put in Los Angeles River in there, and people will go to the LA River to fill up their water jugs,
And I think that is a problem. And this is what the media obviously started to get so much attention on it, because this was obviously a completely disconnect to what you guys are doing and what we believe in here. So when
some people are so desperate now to get back to nature that they're going at night, they're going on private property, they're trying to find these natural springs because you just can't find them. And it's a desperate search for something.
So this is actually funny, talking about going on private property at night. So there's the founder of this company called Juicero, right? So Juicero was just, people decided it was a giant scam. There's this $400 juicing machine, and you didn't need it whatsoever, but it raised $120 million. So it recently went disbanded, basically, as a failed endeavor. But the founder is now like going in the dead of night on private property, like getting spring water in jugs and like selling it to people at like Burning Man. Stuff like that.
And that is obviously what
That's
what we don't want to be connected with, and I think what Tourmaline Springs doesn't want to be connected with, because this is obviously a totally different part.
Exactly.
So you have a patent on raw water. What I saw, huh?
Trademark.
You have a trademark.
Trademark
You have a
the brand.
trademark on raw water. So how do you
Brand.
the brand? So obviously you're not really happy now that this wording raw water is now misinformed to the public. So how do you want to go against this?
Look, our source, the reason why we're able to do what we do is because we have a source that justifies our ability to do this. The state regulators agree with it. The feds, it's all the drinking water agencies allow us to do what we do because we have a 140 plus year history of water with zero complaints of anybody getting ill or even complaining about it on state record, and comprehensive water analysis testing that demonstrates the unwavering purity of our water. It's because of these things that we are able to do what we do with such a clean track record.
Mm-hmm.
And hundreds of thousands of dollars of stainless steel pipe and cradle to grave packaging at the source. We capture water as it emanates from the ground, gravity feed it into the bottle 50 feet away. You go to roadside springs and all these other places with plastic pipes or iron pipes. You have no way there's any control over this sanitary nature.
Mm-hmm.
So could you describe the gravity feeding process a little more? Because that's actually unique to
Glad
your
you
source.
asked that. I wanted Bryan to explain this because there's a video. It's somewhere on the site. It's on one of the pages, but I'll send you guys the link later so you can have it. But Bryan and I show the entire facility. We show the spring. We show how the whole thing is set up.
In real time. We walk
in real time without editing, without anything, because we want people to see exactly what we do. And this is important because what Bryan has done is there's this great source. This great source was exposed to the air for a long time, but he protected it. He covered it with the highest grade stainless steel, set up this facility to gravity. This water isn't exposed to the outside environment. It isn't even exposed to light. It goes all the way through these stainless steel pipes, 50 feet from the source, 70 feet,
70 and 50.
into the bottle. So the first time this water ever even sees the light of day, it's already in the bottle.
Wow.
Because we have a high elevation source, the top of Summit Hill is about 900 feet. The spring emanates at 750 feet above sea level. It's a very high elevation source. The historic photos of the barreling building where they barreled water in the 1800s shows the barreling building below the spring, and it shows them filling the barrels by gravity, by natural flow. And I just mimicked. I built a bottling plant in the footprint of the barreling building that used to be there to set up the same type of operation. So we don't need pumps. We don't need any of this. What better situation can you have than capturing only Mother Nature's overflow and just simply gravity feeding
Yeah, it's amazing.
into the bottle?
Super cost effective.
That's true, yeah. But I think it's definitely, there are studies, and it's very interesting that we're talking about this, because there are some waters in Germany, they're very concerned about like pumping up, and they maybe can destroy the structure of water at that moment. So it's very, very interesting that you guys are mentioning this about the structure of water. Maybe you want to dive into this a little bit?
So, all right, I'll do it, but I'm going to try to keep it really, really. I'm not a scientist, obviously. So, if anybody wants to look up the work of Gerald Pollack, or there's amazing water scientists out there. Okay, this isn't a new thing. Russia has done testing on water structure for years and years. The structure of water is one of the most fascinating and most misunderstood concepts about water. And it's kind of like this. Like when you see water in a glass, you can see it's got surface tension. What is causing water to have surface tension? What causes it to morph and to change? And literally some things can float on water like an iceberg. You'd think an iceberg, which is actually frozen water expanded, that weighs, they can weigh whatever, crazy amount. Why doesn't it sink? they attribute all these anomalous properties of water to water's structure. And it's basically this. Water it has a proton, electron, has a negative and positive charge. And within the context of water is this ability for it to retain an integrity of structure. Environmental toxins, whatever, like the way things flow that are not in alignment with nature, could be anything, can affect this structure. So water structure is fascinating. And it's like you said, the way water can be bottled can affect it. Obviously, when you're talking about water, it's going through pipes and treatment and chemicals and all. What does that do to this structure of water that really at a basic level is the more naturally structured water is, the more it supports the metabolic functions of the human body. The more that structure is demented or twisted or off, the less of a life-giving effect it can have on the body.
And keep in mind simple things like pumps have lubrication in them. They have grease or they have oil, and they have seals that hopefully prevent that grease or oil from getting into the water. So you always run the risk when you're using pumps or containment of some type of somehow affecting the water. What better possible situation under low pressure, letting water gravity feed into the bottle? You start pumping things. Now you interject heat, pressure, a lot of things that we want to avoid.
And that's something interesting about the infrastructure of public water in the U.S. There's still millions of lead pipes out there that people are getting their public water from. And apparently, this is surprising too, because in a New York Times article actually said that 1 in 4 Americans gets their public water doesn't meet public safety standards, 1 in 4. And then on top of that, the public safety standards might not even be adequate for most places in general as well. So you have this weird dichotomy where there's purified water, which isn't good because it doesn't have minerals and other elements that might be important. But then public water that has these minerals and other qualities has tons of potential for being polluted and contaminated. So it's crazy what most people are caught between, you know, like a rock and a hard place when it comes to getting the right water.
I think Flint, Michigan was the first shot across the bow.
Yes. Yes.
That was the warning shot for everybody. The problem wasn't with the water. The problem was with the infrastructure.
Correct.
The lead came from the pipes, not from the lake or the stream. The lead came from the pipes. And once you start that demineralization, the breakdown of the biofilm, you can't stop it. And that's why they're in big trouble there now. And that, like you said, even though lead pipes were banned 30 years ago, there's still 10 million of them in use.
It's good that you're saying Flint, Michigan, because our next episode will be just about Flint, Michigan, because there's a documentary about to release now here in Los Angeles. It's called What Lies Upstream. And they're talking there. They had 2 years. They built this documentary and were following governmental officials and obviously talking to Flint, Michigan people and everything. It's all about Flint, Michigan. And then we can suddenly see, and I saw already the documentary, it's very scary that the problem is not just the pipes, and even the regulations
the
are even not
ecosystem
correct, are not
crazy.
really. The whole concept of tap water in America is not 100% there.
Yeah.
And it's very scary.
There are valid reasons for people to be concerned about tap water.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There are valid reasons to be concerned.
Yes, I think so too.
At a minimum, it's a chemical cocktail that is beyond dispute. There's chemicals put in the water for numerous reasons. The reason that Flint, Michigan happened because they didn't put enough lye or anti-corrosives in it to bring the pH up so it wouldn't attack the pipes. These are all chemicals, let alone fluorine and fluoride is a whole nother discussion. But why, when you have the choice to drink an incredible natural spring water from Mother Nature that exceeds every federal and state guideline for drinking water straight from the ground, why would you want to add anything to it?
Correct. Yeah, I love what you're saying, and I'm so strongly believe this is where water is completely misunderstood, and we all need to rethink our use of water and what we're actually putting into our bodies, because our body is the only thing what we can control to ourselves. So I'm strongly believe I want to breathe good air, I want to eat good food, and I want to drink the right water. Very, very simple. But I love that you just said about structuring your water. And there was a scientist, Marimoto was his name. He actually died for several years ago.
Yeah.
And he did a book about scientific facts about water and water structure. And he was talking what's happening when you're chill down or like actually ice up water and crystallizing waters. And he found out that tap water, what has been treated or been put through machines, doesn't create these beautiful crystal flowers than water what comes from a natural occurring source. And I think that's very, very interesting. Obviously, it goes now a little bit into the esoteric meaning as well to it. Yeah. But I think it's just fascinating to see. And there's a whole book just about that, about the structure of water and what that actually means. Obviously, I'm not a scientist too. I'm a guy who loves to drink water and likes to be hydrated from Mother Nature. Obviously, I don't want to tell you now, oh, you need to drink this, this, and this for this and this benefits of health benefits. I'm not a doctor. I don't work for the UCLA. I'm working in a restaurant. For me, it's all about taste. But I think there's so much more to discover by water, what I think 99% thinking. And even the scientifics are not even there yet. I think there's so much undiscovered stuff about water that nobody can really talk about what is really water, what is the meaning of water, and what can really happen to you when you're drinking water. It's so
even the experts disagree.
Correct.
Right?
And
the experts argue.
Yeah.
What's that?
That is so interesting for me. And I saw this New York article and I was reading it. And when I saw the scientific people like, no, this is nuts. And this is the best thing what we could do. And the best thing what happened in this country is sanitizing waters. Now, let's face it. I understand when your water is not safe to drink and you want to consume sanitized water. I totally understand this. And yes, it is very important. And we know that a lot of hundreds of millions of people lacking of sanitated water and they're dying from E. coli bacteria and all this kind of stuff. And obviously we need to make sure that in countries where we don't have safe drinking water, we need to help them to get safe drinking water. But to badmouth a product of Mother Nature, what requires what is standards by all law is for me mind-blowing. Yeah. And this is, again, a problem with purified water because on the smart water bottles, and that's the reason I have a very, very interesting relationship to smart water, because they are bad-mouthing Mother Nature. On every single bottle of smart water, they're saying, do you really want to drink this stuff from under the ground? Yes, I want. Yes, I want smart water. I want to drink Mother Nature. I do not want to drink a highly processed. And this is for me very important that people need to understand this. Purified water is nothing else than a highly processed beverage. Yeah. It's nothing else, guys. And do not bust this up. It's not a premium water. It has nothing to do with premium at all. And I think that's very, very important to see.
Well said.
I'll tell you one thing I like it too. When a doctor prescribes a medicine or a pharmaceutical to you, it's not because it's necessarily safe. It's because the benefits of that pill will outweigh the possible detriment. Doesn't mean what he's given you won't kill you, won't make you sick, won't have side effects. So treatment is along the same line. Yeah. If you have to take poor water, sterilization is like it outweighs the benefits of not filtering it and waterborne diseases of yore. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean the treatment in itself won't affect you or hurt you over the long term.
It's interesting because even chlorination, which most people say is benign, it's actually associated with an increased incidence of bladder cancer, for example. But that added risk is dwarfed by the risk of getting contaminated water with bacteria and things like that inside of it as well.
So if given the choice, discretionary income, or you can sneak on private land in the middle of the night, why would you not try to seek out an alternative that doesn't have these things in it just for what you consume in your body?
Yes. Correct. And that is the whole idea. And this is the sad part because I'm getting a lot of emails and they're always saying, Martin, we would love to taste all the different waters what you have on the show. For example, Aquilife, Ischilde, Tourmaline Springs, Gerolsteiner, all these amazing brands. And it's very, very hard. Obviously, I'm happy because I'm lucky here. I'm living in Los Angeles and we have grocery stores who providing me with all these beautiful waters now. But there's a lot of stores and a lot of people in Middle America, they don't even have access to anything else than purified water. And this is for me like mind-blowing already. And I never thought about this because for me, yeah, sure, I've access here in the grocery store, therefore I don't even think about it. But when people reached out to me and said, Martin, where can I buy these waters? Because I want really to drink highly mineral waters. I'm eager to drink Mother Nature. And then I found out they not even have access to this. Because the grocery stores and chains literally like have big contracts with the big players of purified water companies. And they cannot even have the choice anymore of a purified or natural occurring spring water. And that is for me the worst thing even. And that's the reason I love water menus, and that's, I think, one of the reasons as well I'm an advocate for smaller companies, because I want to make sure that everybody can still have a choice and can make a choice in their life. Because I don't want to be dictated by a company who tells me, now you have to drink that, because this is my water, what I produce. And this is the problem why big companies now like Coca-Cola, Danone, and Nestle are buying all these small little springs of, like Topo Chico, what we just discussed in the last episode, because they trying to dominate the market at one point. And I strongly believe I don't want to have any domination on the water market. I hate this to see, because I'm really afraid that they will alter these waters at one point, and then we're stuck with just one generic water. Yeah. And that's very, very sad for me to see that happen.
To me, for example, if I lived in rural America or anywhere rural in the world, and I live in the middle of a farm, and I have a well in my backyard, and I have that water tested, and it's everything's good, I'd rather drink that.
Oh yeah, sure, 100%.
Municipal water. And guess what? That's raw water. That's untreated source water from the ground.
Yes. Yes.
I'd rather drink a well in my own rural area than drink processed water that has all these chemicals.
Oh, 100%. I'm so with you. And I think this is, again, like, we need to stress this enough, guys. And this is what the main media was saying now. Oh, raw water you can get E. coli from. And that is completely bullshit. This is completely bullshit. There's a chance...
Surface water.
Yes, surface water or other waters. It's so important that we understand that it doesn't mean because it comes from Mother Nature, it's equals, or you're getting poison.
Yeah.
The other way around, I think, is even more interesting. Because the last time I heard that a water company had to bring back all the batches because there were treatments of maybe E. coli in it, was a purified water company. So they even badmouthed me at one point. And this fired back very nicely. A year later, they did a big video on YouTube about a water sommelier with an accent and how crazy that concept is, how stupid that is, because water is just water as a water company. To say water is just water as a water company is already, like, for me, mind-blowing, because they're in the water business. They should tell the amazing story why their water is amazing. But let's face it, when it's a purified water company, they are pretty much, it's not really sounding great when you're telling them, yeah, we're using tap water and then we're filtering everything out of there and we're putting it into cheap plastic bottles and selling it in the 99-cent stores. It's not really a romantic story. But the same company who badmouthed me with the concept of a water sommelier had this E. coli problem in their products. So it's quite interesting how karma can go sometimes.
Well, you know what? That's why a lot of the small bottlers like us and some of the others that are out there love what you're doing, because you're the bridge for those small bottling companies who have integrity, who have ethics, whose intention it is to do it the right way, because there needs to be greater educational efforts put together. Yes. And I feel like we've always felt like, with our success, we will be able to create more information. But the competitive landscape is such that, it's harder to team up with companies. And we've talked about it. If there were more companies like us, there should be an association. There should be a small bottles association of those who are doing it to the best of their abilities with certain standards that can kind of team up to bring greater awareness to the world. And your work does that. So that's why a lot of these other bottlers love your work.
Yeah.
So.
And I think this is like what Michael Mascher is doing in episode 2. And we talked about the Fine Water Society, how important that is. And I'm part of the Fine Water Society, and Jan Bender is part of it. And there's a lot of amazing people out there. And I met so many amazing bottled water spring bottlers and owners. And I love the passion, guys. And this is exactly what I see with you, because you have something so unique. and you want to share it to the people because you have a product.
Michael has been a great supporter of ours from early on. He appreciates, like you, what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is the key. We need to force together to be stronger together because obviously we do not have the millions of dollars of marketing efforts, but we can just blow in and get a celebrity onto TV and then say, oh, look, my hair is perfect because I'm drinking this water, or I'm very smart because I drink this water. Let's face it, we're small companies, and I'm not even a company. I'm just a guy, again, who likes to drink water and is fascinated about water in general. But we need to team up together. And the more we have, like, people behind us, the more bigger we'll get this movement. But I see a future. And a lot of people ask me, and a lot of media people ask me, so Martin, where do you see, what is the next big trend in water? And trust me, it will be spring water. It will be raw water. It will be water what comes from Mother Nature, because we saw it with food for the last 10, 15 years. Suddenly, everybody's about organic food. We saw it with beer. Crafted beer suddenly is the thing. It's not about the big companies anymore. No, it's about crafting something. We see it in all other industry that small little companies suddenly can really play off the big boys. And trust me, it will the same happen with water. I strongly believe in this because we are the winning game, because we are giving something from Mother Nature to people.
Well said.
Like I say to Seth, we're on high ground here. We're on high ground. Let's not join them down where they want to go. We're on really high ground. And the closer you come look at us, the brighter the lights are, the better we look, and the worse everybody else is.
So what is
the media, like the media that attacked raw water in general, they threw our name into it. They didn't look at what we do. They didn't contact us. They didn't, it was just this blatant attack based on one person, one company doing it.
Crazy.
We got thrown into that. And so that should speak a lot as to the scare tactics and the things that are going on that people just need to pay attention to.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
An incredible level of ignorance being repeated and repeated.
Amazing, huh? Yeah.
I didn't necessarily believe Trump and fake news, but now I do.
It's not all fake, I think, what the media is doing, because they have to be very, very good on their jobs right now. I really hope, because it's even more important. Because I'm always saying news is the biggest power you can have. The more information you know as an individual, the better you know and can think what's going on. And I don't believe...
Do your own homework.
Correct.
Encourage your listeners to do their homework. Get on websites. Read. There's a lot of information on these websites. Educate yourself.
I think that is
for
the
key.
Facts,
you know? Yes. We've always had it open. Anybody who's ever approached us, we want to see your testing. Here it is.
Yes.
None of them have ever said anything. Somebody commented on the Instagram thread that you put up, or the Facebook one.
Correct.
A hydrogeologist who looked at our water profile and commented on it. You know, there's people out there who are qualified to help other people understand if water is safe to drink or not. Correct. You know, not people just throwing scare tactics out there without doing their homework, you know?
So what is the future for you guys?
Well, right now, what we're doing is we're defending what we've created. You know, the media started out really negative, but we've seen that turning. There's been some media sources that are like, wait a minute, hold on, how did you guys
get... a little bit more, huh?
They've called, some of them called us, they're like, you guys are doing this right. So now other media outlets are coming forward and they're asking us the hard questions. They're asking us the right questions, and we're able to disclose what it is that we have accomplished. So right now we're earning the trust back that we've always deserved because we're doing it right. So that's kind of where we're at now. But our goal is to literally make this successful and create water awareness, literally educate people at whatever level they're at to have a greater understanding, and to team up with you, to team up with Fine Waters, to make other companies around the world that are doing this, to really kind of bring it together. Because water is, like you said, like we've been saying the whole night, water is about to become the most important topic, one of the most important topics of our time. And we're 100%. Right on the cusp.
But exactly what you said right there, you have to earn your credibilities almost back. It was the same for me when I came to the States. When I started the water menu at Riese Stark Bar, I got shit-faced Like literally like that from media people. They're like, this is the most pretentious thing ever. This is crazy. He's the biggest scam artist ever on this planet or in America with his phony German accent. And he lives in Hollywood. And what he even thinks what he is. I received hate calls. Think about this. I received hate calls where people were screaming at me on the phone that literally like, it was almost like that I killed somebody from the family. This is like what people reached out to me in the beginning. And I said again, 100 media outlets later, I've been on the Bill Nye show, on one of the biggest scientific shows what you can watch on Netflix, and it will be coming, I thought already it would be released, it will be coming now in the next 4 or 5 months, and we're talking scientific facts about water. So the whole thing changed from he's completely nuts to, wow, there's so much more to know about water. And now 95% of the media outlets who are writing about me are extremely positive and they're fascinating about the world of water. And I see it same for you guys. I know that it's very hard to be strong with this, but that's the reason we on Planet Water wanted to reach out right away to you, and we will blast this out to all our channels because I wanted to make sure that people really understand that what the media maybe tried to say was completely really a misinformation about what's actually thing. It's not the whole picture. It was just a half of the picture of something where maybe some crazy people went to the springs and thought they can drink untreated, unfiltered, or not even maybe safe water, and now suddenly all spring waters around this world are very, very bad. And this is absolutely not true. And this is very, very important that we make this clear to everybody that no, Mother Nature gives us something very special.
Well said. Well said. You're absolutely right. We feel like we're earning our credibility back because as a result of this, enough outlets, media outlets with integrity have been approaching us, have been wanting to really, they've been digging deeper. And that's what we're hoping, that all of this negative publicity is going to turn into something that really is in the benefit for all of us.
We believe in Mother Nature, not man's machinery.
Here we go.
We want to move towards Mother Nature and organic, just like foods. We've learned over the years, like you said in your intro, that's the way to go. That's where the healthy things are. Why would you want to, if you don't want to treat your food, if you want to have organic, untreated, unprocessed food, why would you want to treat your water, which is the ultimate food?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you talk about food as well. So I'm actually a vegan, and one of the things for vegans is that you have to supplement with vitamin B12, right? And that's one of the common arguments against veganism. Well, if you have to supplement with B12, then isn't it not the natural diet? But as it turns out, B12 is actually a bacteria, and that bacteria is abundant in Mother Nature, in streams and in soils and things like that. But because of the modern sterilization, we don't get any of it anymore. And actually in agriculture, so the animals, the number one consumer of B12 supplements is the animal agriculture industry. So the animals also have to get their vitamin B12 supplemented because it's not in the water that they get or the soil that they have anymore. So that's something interesting. Like even like an element like bacteria that is in water is actually something that you obviously aren't going to get with treated water, for example.
And we
I'm a pilot by trade. And we used to fly in the early days on a theory called the big sky principle, right? It's very hard to smash two airplanes together because it's a big sky. Right? That's not true anymore. And we used to operate in America and other places like it's a big earth principle, right? We can dump raw sewage into rivers and we'll have no effect because it's a big earth. That's not true anymore either.
Oh, yeah.
We are having a dramatic effect on the earth, and we are poisoning her. And it's becoming a big issue.
Yes.
And we
Some
can't
people still don't
like
believe in this. This is the crazy part. And let's be honest. The president right now not even believes in this. And this is for me very scary. And when he talks about this, and I don't want to even get into politics obviously right now, but for me it's mind blowing.
Oh, why not? Yeah,
it's for me mind blowing that he tweeted a tweet because it's so cold in New York right now. Look, where's the global warming? Yeah, Mr. President, that's exactly what the problem is. The rather extreme, it's built up by the global warming impact. That we have suddenly more rivers flooding other areas, that we have the drought here in California, that we have these extreme weather conditions everywhere, that we have more and more hurricanes around the world. That is exactly what the scientific people is telling us. And I strongly believe in 99% of the scientific people than of our president right now. I'm so sorry, but I'm German, so it's not even my president.
Okay, see you guys later.
No, it's for me funny, and again, I love what you said. I think, yes, it's good to understand news, but you have to get the bigger picture, and there's way more sources than just one channel on the TV where you're getting your source from, because I'm, for example, watching German TV and I'm watching American TV. And sometimes the same topic has been talked about, but from two different angles. It's very interesting how different sometimes the news channels are even talking about the same topic. And it's very important, I think, as a human being, as a smart person, to understand a little bit more than just one source. You should always listen to more and more sources and then make up your own mind. I think that is very, very important.
Correct. Do your own homework.
Do your own homework. What you said is very important. And I think that is the whole key. Even by water, do your homework and really listen to it, what water is for yourself. And again,
a lot of what we've been saying is this is common sense.
Yes.
We're not asking you to be scientists.
Yeah.
This is. Do you want the organic tomato from grandmother's garden?
Correct.
Or do you want the one in a TV dinner? I mean, this is common sense.
Yes.
People.
Yes. That's funny. No, this was great. I love this. Do you have anything to share with us, like before we're calling it a day, I would say, and hydrate ourselves here at Hollywood?
Well, one thing, I mean, from our perspective, we would just like people to check us out, read through it, watch this video. I'll send you a link to it. But, we want people to see our facility, our spring, our source. We, I don't want to speak for the world, but in North America, we're the only company that we know of that will show you the source online. You can actually see the water bubbling out of the ground.
Amazing.
That's a big deal, Same way people want to know where their food comes from. They should also want to know where their water comes from, but a lot of places you can't find where your water comes from. So we would love to be able to have people see that and know that there it is. That's where the water you're drinking out of the bottle that you get from us, it came from that source that you see bubbling up.
That's
it's a big deal.
When people like to contact you, how they can get in contact with you guys?
They can go to Tourmaline Spring, to our website, tourmalinespring.com.
Okay. And where's your water been found? Where can I buy the water right now?
Well, we're mostly in the Northeast. So, we're between Maine and the Mid-Atlantic into D.C. area. We're in a lot of health food stores, different types of gourmet shops, things like that. You can get raw water online, can you?
Not anymore. You can get some at spring water on Amazon. And we're working on maybe providing Tourmaline on Amazon as well.
We can ship anywhere in the country, but in order for it to be cost effective, they have to order a pallet at a time.
No, I understand. I understand.
We're working on nationwide distribution with UNFI. So hopefully, as the notoriety gets out, the people request our water, a lot of these places will get it. Sprouts and things out in your area, they could easily we could get it there as well.
Wonderful. So I think it's important, and this is like what I said earlier, I think as a consumer, it's important to go to your grocery chain and demand for spring waters, and demand maybe for Tourmaline Springs, and say, listen, let's demand this, because when the consumer will demand, trust me, the grocery stores will carry it right away because they want to sell it. So I think that is the key. And we as a person, we have the power because we are in power. So please, guys who are listening in, and it helps really, go to your grocery stores and demand, hey, your water aisle lacks, because I don't see any really occurring spring waters, and demand natural occurring spring waters on their chains. And the more and more people will do this, the more distribution we will have for these amazing springs like Tourmaline Springs. Thank you so much for being with us here at Planet Water. It was for me mind-blowing.
Thank you both.
We will definitely stay in contact, and let's all spread the word that water is not just water.
Yes.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Got it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being with us tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, that was mind-blowing, I think.
That was crazy. That was super
crazy.
This
was very, very interesting. And thank you so much again for the co-founders of Tourmaline Springs. I think it was a mind-opening experience for both of us, and hopefully for both of the listeners.
Yeah, there's so much more information surrounding the topic than the mainstream media has put out there.
Yes.
So it was insanely informative, if not mind-blowing. Like, it's crazy. It's
I think
really
so
crazy.
too. And I hope you really enjoy this episode of episode 6. What is we doing in episode 7?
Episode 7, we're going to be live at the Arena...
Yes, Arena Cine Lounge.
Arena Cine Lounge at the premiere of What Lies Upstream.
Yes, we are very excited. So the 15th of January, guys, at 7:30 in the Arena Cine Lounge on Sunset Boulevard here in Los Angeles. When you're listening in from Los Angeles or the surrounding areas, or when you maybe want to do a nice trip to Los Angeles, please visit us at the Arena Cine Lounge on this upcoming January 15th, 7:30 performance of What Lies Upstream. And right after the documentary, we will do a live stage taping of Planet Water podcast. I'm very excited, I
And
have to
then
say.
water tasting, right?
And then we will do a water tasting right after, and we will have some crazy cool springs like
Tons of
Fiji,
fun.
some Aquilife, some Iskilde, some Gerolsteiner, some Vichy Catalan. We will have a nice water bar there. So this is a great treat, and the only thing what it costs is $16.
That's crazy.
So I think this is like the best deal in Los Angeles on the 15th of January. We would love to see you there. And for the future, guys, we have a lot of amazing guests coming in. Again, we will not tell you who's coming, but we have a lot of comedians coming in, so it will be a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to drink some waters with some very great comedians around America. And again, Planet Water is here to hydrate you guys. Thank you so much for listening in. Thank you, Chance, for being here with us today again. And it's always great to have you here on the live show.
Great to be here.
And hopefully... And remember, guys, and I don't want to say hopefully, but you guys know already, stay thirsty, be hydrated, and water is not just water. Stay thirsty, guys. See you in episode 7.
Have a good one.
Planet Water Podcast.